Now, COUNTIF is used to count the number of cells within a range that meet specific criteria. Example, how many orders contain word urgent in column A. SUMIF adds up values on a specified condition. Example, what's the total revenue of high priority orders in column B. Average is used to calculate the average values. Now, the COUNTIFs, SUMIFs, and AVERAGEIF, their plural versions, are actually used to allow multiple conditions. Example, how many orders were placed by customer X with a priority level of high in column D. But wait, there's a more. We're not stopping here. We will also explore max ifs, find the maximum value based on conditions, or just the maximum value. Mini ifs, discover the minimum value within specific criteria. Where to catch the action? Our live workshops happen exclusively only on YouTube. Remember, all the workshops happen only on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you never miss out. And a shout out to existing subscribers, to our fantastic existing subscribers. Thank you for being a part of our Excel journey. Your support keeps us motivated to create valuable content. Let's continue to grow together. Remember, it's all about mastering Excel 1 minute at a time. See you in the webinar. So let's get started today. Now, over here, I'm on this sheet called Power Functions. And you can see we have some of the employees' names. We have their building they work in, the department they work in, which department they are in right now, the date they were hired, and the number of years they have been working. Remember, there's a formula in it which is calculating the number of years based on the date. Not a tricky formula, but we will explore it later, not today. Then what's their job status? Their half-time, full-time, the benefits they are getting, the compensation, and their job rating. Now, pretty HR kind of a list, pretty simple database over here. And if I double click, I can see we have around 700 rows of data here, 742 rows of data. Now, quite a big data. Now, this list can actually grow or shrink depending upon what you want to add or what you want to remove. Now, over here, we might want to calculate or we might want to count how many full-time people are there or how many half-time people are there or how many people are getting maybe dental vision insurance or maybe dental only or maybe meals included or any kind of such benefit or maybe working in quality assurance or marketing or manufacturing, any department, or maybe in which building they are working, Tagore building, West building, North building, Jyoti building. Remember, these are all random generated. It's a random sample database. Your database might not be a lot different than this, but this is a sample database to explain you the concept of COUNTIF. And now you might say, okay, I want to count how many half-time people, how many full-time people. I can simply use the filter function, or I can simply apply the filters and we can do it. Of course, no, nothing wrong with it. But what if I want to use that count in a formula, and from that formula we want to calculate something else? And maybe this is a dynamic list. Filters can give you the answer, nothing wrong with it. But it may not be dynamic, it may be a static result, maybe just a number. But maybe in our example, we want to use a number which is dynamically changing. So over here, I have maybe employees, buildings, departments, years, status, benefits, compensation, and their rating. I want to be able to calculate how many full-time people are there. And since I'm not going to use so many columns, I'm going to hide it, some of those. Maybe I want to hide column A. I'm not going to use dates and years. I'm going to hide this as well. And I'm not going to use maybe uh, rating this time. So I'm going to hide that as well. And I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see it very clearly. And I'm going to make it this column wider. And over here in M9, I'm going to use the function here called COUNTIF. Now remember, there are several functions, like count function is there. Now we have a COUNTIF. Now this count and COUNTIF, what is the difference is count will count the numbers. There's a function. COUNTIF it's a mixture of two functions. It's a mixture of, like, you have a count function and then you have an if added to this. So count plus if. And now you might say, okay, we have a count if, we have a sum if, and we have an average if. Now these are all actually a family function. Count, we have a count. I also have an average. I also have a sum. Now these functions are actually family functions. Why do a family? It's a big family. Like I have a count, I have an average, I have a sum, then I have a count if, then I have an average if, then I have a sum if, then I have their plural versions. Count ifs, sum ifs, average if. I have a max if, and then I have a max function, I have a max ifs, and then I have a mini ifs. So there are lot of different functions out there, and they entirely belong to one single family. So that is why these are actually called as a family function. Let me remove this from there. And so we want to be able to calculate how many full-time people are there, or how many half-time people are there, or how many, what category is there, whatever the category, whatever we want to count. So we should be able to do it. So I'm going back here to the home tab here. So over here in cell M9, we will be calculating how many full-time people are there. Just a simple query. So I'm going to use a function here called equal count if. And the description says, the balloon tip says, counts the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. Of course, the condition is, what is the condition? I just don't want to count. I want to count whether how many full-time people are there. So condition is full-time. The criteria is full-time. So count if two parameters. First, range. Now you might see range, table, array, list, all of them means the same thing. Where? I want to count full-time. Where? I want to count full-time in column F. And comma, what is that we want to count? I want to count full-time. Now I have the liberty to type here full-time and close the parentheses. Press enter, I can get a count here. Simple. We can do that. But with this, I have also disabled the feature to copy this down. Because I have written full-time, I might not be able to copy this down to calculate the half time or take the advantage of the autofill feature. Remember, in Excel, we type formula only once and then we copy this down. But in this example, we won't be able to do it because the second parameter says it has to be full time, because I've written that specifically, it has to be full time. Now I'm going to remove this, and in the criteria, I have a full time written in L9. So I'm going to tell Excel that, okay, the criteria is whatever the criteria is, whatever is written in L9, just give me that. I don't care what is written in L9. Whatever is written in L9, you give me the answer. So my parameters can be filled by, I can type it, I can give a reference, or I can use another formula. So full time and press enter, I still get the same answer. But now because I have used a reference, I can copy this down, and whatever is L9 will move to L10 to L11 to L12. And here we have the answer, L10 and L11 and L12. So I have used count function to count all those items here, full-time, half-time, contract, and hourly. Now I'm going to use here maybe the sum of these. So I want to get the sum of, not just the sum of all the compensation. I want to calculate the sum of full-time people, sum of the compensation of full-time. How much compensation we're giving to full-time employees? How much compensation we're giving to half-time employees, to hourly, to contract employees? So same general idea. I'm going to use SUMIF. Now over here, same range and criteria would remain the same whether you are using count, sum, or average. So range is there. Where do you want to find? Here, comma. What is the criteria? Criteria is this. Now the third parameter is sum range. Where is your sum? My sum is in compensation. So I'm going to select column H here and press enter. We get an answer here. Now it is not the total answer, total number. My total number is, if I select column H, of course I can see the total number is 707511154. That's the total. And by the way, if you're not seeing all the 6 items here, simply right click on the status bar and make sure everything is active. And now I have the sum here. I can copy this down and I have a half-time, contract and full-time. Because I have used the reference, it will automatically update. Remember, in Excel, we type formula only once and then we copy it to many cell downward, many cell rightward, many cell leftward, upward, wherever. Now, average, of course, you might have already guessed how do we use average. It's the same general idea. Average ifs or if, sorry. What is the range and criteria? Of course, that will remain the same. Range, criteria, and what is the average? Where is your average? I want an average of compensation and press enter. This is the average of the compensation. I press enter. You get all the count if, sum if, and average if. Remember, if I want to count how many different departments are there, first I want to know how many different departments are there. So of course I can maybe use a unique function to get a list of how many departments are there, and maybe from here to 742 and press enter. Now here are different departments here. How many departments are here? Now I want to count them all. So equal count if. What is the range? In column C. And what is the criteria? Manufacturing. Press enter. I've got 151 people in manufacturing and so on. So in Excel, we type formula in only once and then we copy. And then we have an answer here. ADC 5, creative 19. Of course, you can use the filter and see the answer is absolutely right. So we can use all these functions here to calculate how many different numbers are there. And in case if the now benefit of formula is in case if this changes here, let's say if I move it to account management, my number will automatically change. Remember, ADC now become 4. If I do it back undo, ADC will become 5. So I don't have to worry about it. And if I change here maybe full time, you see full time is 373 now. Undo over here. So the power of formula here is that we can automatically need not have to worry about the numbers, updating the numbers in case the list grows or shrink. It gets updated automatically, right? So this is how we use COUNTIF, SUMIF, and AVERAGEIF function. Also, we saw an example of taking out unique items from column C, the departments. And now if I want to convert those formulas into values, I can simply select it and with the right mouse button where on the edge, I'll simply drag it to the enter column, bring it back, copy here as values. Now there is no formula. These are all just numbers, only numbers, no formula. And of course you can copy it and paste as values as well. So we got all those numbers here, converted those departments and got the count of count, sum and average of full-time, half-time, contract and hourly employees. Pretty easy stuff, right? Drop in your questions, comments, and remember, don't forget to subscribe this channel. We are doing free webinar educating you absolutely free, no charges. The only charge is subscribe the channel. That's it. If you like this. So we have full-time, half-time, contract, and hourly. Let's move on to the next chapter here. COUNTIFs, SUMIFs, and AVERAGEIFs. They're plural version of these functions here. Now over here we have same data. Of course, nothing changes there. Let's say I want to calculate. I'm going to drop it down here. Let's say, and since I'm not going to use names, I'm going to hide them for some time. And I'm going to use maybe, I'm not going to use dates. I'm going to hide these as well. And not going to use benefits also. Okay, let's keep it. Let's see. Maybe we won't. So over here, let's say first, this is the plural version of the COUNTIF function available to 365 users. If you're using 2016, please use you can use COUNTIF, and I think ifs also you can use. But do let me know if you on 2016 you can use 20 this COUNTIFs or yes or no. So for full time, let's say if I want to calculate only full time, I don't have multiple conditions. I only have one condition. Can I use the plural version? Yes, you can. So I'll put the criteria here. Let's say I want to use calculate only full-time people. And I'm going to use here equal count ifs. What is the criteria range? Again, criteria range or criteria range one. Why one? Because you got multiple criteria. So you don't mix up with one or two. So range one. Range one is what? Over here. Now what is the criteria? Criteria is full time. And I press enter, I still get the same answer, 372. And now I want to add more conditions. Now if full time, now I want to calculate how many full time people are there who are in manufacturing department, let's say. So I'm going to edit this formula and I'm going to put a comma here. And how many conditions we can add? We can add, believe it or not, maybe 126 conditions over here. And I don't want to increase the complexity of this function. I just want to show you that how far you can go on these functions here. So you can add up to 127 or 126 different conditions criteria here. So quite a big complex. I don't imagine going that far. So criteria range 2 is the department. The range should be manufacturing. And I'm going to copy this, press enter, 65 people. Now because I have used M3, I cannot copy this down unless I make it absolute. So I copy this down. Now I have a full-time people who are in manufacturing department. It says 65 full-time people in manufacturing department in how many of them are in north building? So my another criteria is from the building. What building? North building. So I'm gonna select here north building. I press enter. 14 people, 11 people, 4 people, 12 people. How many of them are more than maybe greater than, let's say greater than 7 years? So I'm going to use it as the criteria, and years should be in double quotes. Now I have to put it in double quotes, greater than 7, and quotes close, and break parentheses close, press enter, 13. And I'm going to copy this down. All of them says greater than 7 years. Now another criteria, how many of them are getting meals included? That's a benefit. So I'm going to use comma, range is benefits, the criteria is meals included, and or I can, instead of typing, I can simply refer it here and absolute it, press enter, we get an answer. 2 people, 0 people. And how many of them have a job rating maybe more than have a job rating of 4 or 5? So I'm going to use it over here. Job rating is greater than 3 or greater than equal to 4, or I use 3, either one of it, in double quotes. Remember, double quotes, I want to use double quotes here, and close the parentheses, press enter, 0. And do we have anything? And half time 2. So over here you can add multiple conditions. Remember, you can add 126 different conditions. I have used few, 1 2 3 4 5 6 so far. 1 2 3 4 5 6, yeah, 5 or 6 so far. But you can use up to, believe it or not, 127 different conditions. The aim is not to increase the complexity of this function, but to understand that you can have multiple conditions and you can get an answer. So now this is a fair example of using COUNTIF. Let me remove this this option here of and yeah. Now what happens is we can let's see an example of SUMIF. So instead of COUNTIFs, I'm gonna change it to SUMIFs. The only difference between SUMIF or the singular version and plural version of SUMIF and AVERAGEIF is, in SUMIFs the sum range will come first, but in the singular version the sum range will be the last criteria. Over here I have a first criteria. Now Excel is saying you give me the sum range first, After that, whatever you criteria you want to add, you keep on adding because you got 127. I'm not keeping waiting for that. So you give me the sum range first, and then you keep on adding the criteria. And that I think that's a good step. So I'm going to use the first criteria as my sum range. Rest everything remains the same. And I press enter. I can answer here. And this is the total. And similarly, if I want to use maybe average, let me use an average here. AVERAGE, average ifs. And I've already have a sum of average, and here is the average of half time. Here is the sum of full time. So here is the sum of full time who are in manufacturing in the north building more than 7 years, working more than 7 years, have a benefit of meals included. So different criteria, different ranges using count ifs, sum ifs, and average ifs function. Now this will be dynamic. Anytime you change anything, let's say if it changes to north building, keep an eye, your number will automatically change. Undo, the number will keep on changing. North building, not much of a difference yet, but this will keep on happening. This will keep on changing, right? So we have the data out here, and we have seen how do we calculate the singular version of countifs and the plural version of countifs, sumifs, and average ifs function. I hope it will be quite useful for you. And remember, these powerful family functions, countif, sumif, average if, where are there if you're using a data, if you're aspiring data analyst or trying to become a data scientist, these functions you will be using them all around, will be there, and these are very powerful functions here, no doubt about it. You will be using them quite a lot. These functions are incredibly powerful functions for data analysis, reporting, and decision making. Whether you are analyzing the sales data, responses, survey responses, or any other data set, mastering these functions will make your life a lot easier. If you have any questions, please drop your questions in the chat box or put a comment in the chat, and I will take it up from there. Let's take a look at the max if and mini ifs. Now I have a max function here on the in the home tab in the editing group. I've got auto sum here. If I want to use the maximum number, I can use a max function, and I can see what is the maximum compensation out here. I can use max compensation. There is a max. If I want to use minimum, I can use a minimum. Now I'll get the maximum and the minimum number. But what if I want to have a maximum number based on certain conditions? Maybe I want to get the maximum compensation of a full-time employee who has a who is working in North Building in account department and has worked more than 6 years and has a job rating of 4 or 5 and is getting dental and vision insurance. So of course multiple conditions. So what do we want to use is max ifs. Remember the conditions, the criterias and application of the criterias would remain the same. Only the number formula changes. So let's say I want to use the max ifs. And remember, there is no singular version of these functions available. So max ifs, but if you want to use the second maximum, what if somebody says I want to use see the maximum second maximum number? So you can use the large function instead. Let's come back to max ifs. What is the max range? What is the max range? Now again, like we have in some ifs, we have sum range first. Here you have a max range where you want to find the maximum from. Of course, compensation. Criteria range 1, of course. Status, what should be the status? Of course, it should be the full time. And doesn't has to be case sensitive. And I press enter. It give me the maximum compensation of a full-time person, right? And of course, you might say it is the same. Yes, it is the same. Maybe it is the same coincidentally. So 139,692 would be the maximum compensation of a full-time person. So now if I put more conditions here, let's say, and he should be in north building. So criteria range 2 should be North building. From the building, I want north. And close the parentheses. I've got this is a new one. And now we are filtering those, we are narrowing down our results here. And now maybe in the north, and now I want maybe criteria range 3, department should be, uh, let's say, manufacturing, and quotes close, press enter. This is the manufacturing. Now, maybe the number of years greater than 5 years and greater than 5. This is the maximum, of course. And what about the benefits? Getting child education only, and benefits only child education, and close the parentheses, present. We don't have any money. Let's say, how about dental and vision insurance? Let me copy this down and I'll put it over here. Dental and vision insurance insured. Press enter. We have another one. And maybe a job rating of greater than 3. Job rating greater than 3. And quotes close, press enter. We don't have anybody. Or maybe I'll say 2. We have the same number. So job rating more than 2. So this is the maximum number based on certain conditions. And we can have a similar function here. Uh, we can have using the minimum function here. So in what do? We simply change from max to mini ifs equal mini ifs, and I'll change it min ifs and press enter. And this is the minimum. So this is the maximum, this is the minimum number. Maybe it's only one number. So we have, now you might have seen the how do we calculate based on certain conditions. We can find the count, we can find the sum, the average of maybe one condition or multiple conditions. And remember, 127 different conditions you can add. And you can also embed this with and or function, and some other nest. You can nest this with other functions as well. Quite a useful function, can be used as standalone function as it is, or can be used as a nested function along with the other functions. Now let's take a look at the another function here called subtotal. Now over here, what we are looking at is the subtotal. Now we have some of the Aadhaar numbers here, and we have their departments, we have their hire date, and we have their compensation. Now just a friendly reminder, these are random generated numbers. You won't be able to get a mobile connection with these numbers. Now they are working in different departments and they are hired on different dates, and they have some how many years they have worked in, and it's been calculated over here. Now we got a different compensation they are getting out here. We have calculated that how much compensation they're getting. Not a big data, so therefore thereof we got a small list of data out here. Now we want to calculate the subtotal of these functions, subtotal, interim totals of this. Now if I calculate maybe the total of this, let's say if I want to see the total, I'll use maybe alt equal and I click here and it says 3610,088. This is the total. Now if I want the interim totals, I want to see how many account management, what is the compensation I'm spending to account management, what is the compensation I'm spending to environmental compliance, what is that I'm spending to HR, what is that I'm spending to marketing. Of course you need interim, and now this list is a shorter list, so we can do it. What about if this is a huge list? This is going to take you some time. Of course you can use count if, sum if, average if, of course, no problem, nothing wrong with it. We can certainly do that like we have done here. We can certainly do it. Of course, what if I want to see the interim totals right here, right under? Now, what we can do first, I want to have a space here. So what I'll do here is I'll include a blank row before all these rows, and over here, and I click on insert. I'll have an empty row, just before all these rows. And I'm going to color these cells wherever these are empty rows, so you can see out clearly these cells. I will color them where I'm going to take some action. How about this one? So I've colored them. So of course you can see that. Now I want a sum of these, so I'll select all of them. How about this? Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. And I want a total of all these. I'll simply press Alt equal, and I got a total of all this. Now this is a total of, and I'm going to bold them so you can see it. Now this is a total of account management. This is a total of environmental compliance. This is a total of human resource. This is a total of marketing. This is a total of product development. And remember the interim total was 3610. Now what is the total? 7220. And you might say, what's wrong here? We are doing a double counting. So we don't want to do a double counting here. We want to see, we want to add only these totals, these subtotals. So subtotals we are adding. Now what is happening? It is counting, adding all these numbers here. We don't want to add these numbers here because they have already been added. We are doing them twice. So is there a way to do it? Yes, there is. We can use the function called subtotal. Subtotal. Now there are several parameters, around 111 of those, but most commonly used is number 9. 9 is for sum. Over here, you see, number 9 is for sum, comma. I've used the function number 9. Now where do you want to sum of? I want sum here. And I press enter. It will give me subtotal number. But still I'm getting a total number 7220. Why? Because there is no subtotal. So what we want to use is, instead of sum, I want to use the subtotal function here. I've used a function here called sum, as you can see in the formula bar. Now I'm going to press Ctrl H to find and replace. I'm going to find a sum and replace this by subtotal 9 comma, and I replace them all. Remember, see, all this sum function will get replaced into subtotal, and then range would remain the same. And I press enter. All done. My answer would still remain the same. It will not change. But now my total is 3610 because this will automate. This range is column E. This will not include the another subtotal function because subtotal function will not include another subtotal function. I've got a subtotal here. Here, instead of sum function, now I'm using a subtotal function. So subtotal will not add another subtotal. But sum function will not take care about this. It will keep on adding whatever function it is. So that is the reason we use subtotal functions to get an interim totals. Now this is useful if you have a shorter list, but how about if your data is large? What do we do then? Now if you have attended the previous session or if you have seen the video on subtotals, if not, let's go and watch this. How do we do it? Again, same data. Now what do we do here is we got Aadhaar numbers, departments, hire date, years and compensation. Now we want to do a subtotal here. Of course, I don't want to get into the trouble of adding those functions here because I might do something wrong. So we can go to subtotal here. On the data tab at the far right, you would have subtotal. Click on subtotal. Excel will automatically select the range of your data. Remember, you must click within your data first. If you click outside and click on subtotal, it won't work. Make sure you click within your data first, do the scoping, and by the way, scoping is click within the data, press Control A, Control period, which is full stop a couple of times to see you're not losing out your data, and come back. Click within the data, then click on subtotal, and now what is the subtotal you want? It says at each change in. At every time there is a change in what? Every time there is a change in department. I want a subtotal after every department. So every time there is a change in the department, use function. Now you got some limited functions out there. I want to sum. I want a total. A total of who? A total of Aadhaar number. A total of department. A total of hire date. Total of years. Of course, total of compensation. And I can uncheck replace current subtotals, although not required because there aren't any subtotals. And then page break between groups should be unchecked. Summary below data should be checked. and click OK. Boom. All we got here is Excel will automatically insert a new row calculating subtotals of all these functions, all these numbers here. And if I do a subtotal here, subtotal 9 comma, and on this entire data, I'll still get the same answer. And who has inserted this row? Excel did. If I just want to see the subtotals, I can click on number two, sorry, and I see all the subtotals here. Of course, I can mark them bold. I bold them. Who included these rows? Excel included these rows. I've not done anything. I just press the button here. If I click on number one, I can only see grand total. 2 will give me department wise total. 3 will give me entire data. Or I can see all those subtotals here. And you can see how this is working. Excel has automatically done that. Calculated subtotal, put in those functions here, inserted those rows, typed this account management total, typed this environmental compliance total, typed this in human resource total. And whenever you want to use this, make sure you use this on a same items. Don't use it on names or employee names. You will have whenever every name changes, you will have a new line item. So maybe you want to use it where you have some common items here, like departments, like environmental compliance, like marketing, or maybe status, or over here, let's say status here, maybe benefits. Now, the main important thing is that if you have not noticed, and the entire column B was sorted as for the departments, the data must be sorted in advance. If I want to remove these subtotals, simply go back to subtotals, click within the data first, any cell, go back to subtotal, simply click on remove all, and you will be back where you were. Remember, data has to be sorted ascendingly or descendingly. It must be on a sorted list. If this is not sorted, every time the department changes, maybe you have account department here, maybe you have account department here. Every time the data changes, you'll have a new line item. So remember, uh, you must sort your data well in advance before using this subtotal feature or command. We have seen the command and we have seen the formula how we want to use the subtotal. I believe these power functions will help you analyze your data more easily, more effectively, and more efficiently. Tune in for more such useful videos and lectures and webinars every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., 11 a.m. to 12 noon. For 1 hour, we will be connecting live. Please do subscribe this channel and support us. Thank you very much for joining in today. Have a great rest of the week and God bless you.